We welcome you to the final hour of the 9 to noon radio show.
How's it been so far?
Well, beauty is in the ear of the beholder. So people will ask, like, what did you think of the show today? Or how'd the game call go? And I mean, I have my feelings, my opinions. You won on Sunday. How'd you call the game? It's just weird to hear it like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And any calls you'd have back?
A few.
Any you left on the play call sheet that you wish? You see what I'm saying?
Luckily, they're getting put in the new play sheet right now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Big fan of carryover plays if they fit. Are you a fan of carryover topics if they fit? One show to the next.
Oh, absolutely. When you guys aren't playing and we're in the middle of the summer and the Twins are terrible and it's the sports
you take
abyss.
that time off anyway. We both know that.
How would you know that? That's crazy.
I do know. Remember, former media guy myself.
Yeah.
I do know that was when I got to work. You know, that dry time
Right.
during the summer where they give some airtime to just about anybody.
You guys are unbelievable. The intel or how on top of things you have to be with everything that you know. A majority of my vocal maintenance days, as we call them, take place during the course of the summer.
That's right.
Hey, man, it's good to see you. Congratulations on the victory.
Appreciate that.
Against the Indianapolis Colts. The tour of the AFC South continues this weekend at noon on KFAN, or as Kevin would say, the boom is at noon on KFAN against the Jaguars. Then the Titans after that, Bears after that, 3-game roadie coming up. And let's just get this out of the way quickly. You busted the 2-game slump, and now up to the next one, you get to sweat the kicker and long snapper spots. And the way I'm going to frame this up is, because I was thinking about it earlier, have you ever experienced, like, you've had situations where maybe you got to deal with the kicker got hurt or the long snap, but both in the same week? I can't say in all the years I've called games that I've ever known this to happen. Have you?
No, I mean, not for me. It's always something where it's one or the other, or maybe you've got a questionable area where you might bring in a potential guy that can be a game day call-up, things like that. But ultimately, no. And for Depot, he's our special teams captain. He's been a rock for us. So consistent at his job. You take it for granted when you have him out there each and every week. And we all know Will's been an absolute rock star for us. So, we're definitely working through potential scenarios there where we want to make sure we have opportunities to, get points on the board. The kickoff has been something that's been debated. But we've really enjoyed having the ability to just put it in the end zone anytime we want from Will. So we got to work through that stuff.
Yeah, the kickoff situation, I mean, if it's, and you would know 1,000 times more about this than me, if it's to keep people healthy and make sure we're minimizing concussions and stuff like that and high impact collisions, cool. I mean, you're getting it accomplished, but the kickoff's awful. I mean, it just basically, when you got strong kickers like your kid with bionic leg, most of them can kick it out anyway. It just, when I say it's awful, it just really is neutralized or pulled back from even what was a quasi-exciting play, Well,
I just think if even in future years, which I imagine we probably will debate and talk about from a league standpoint of, maybe making the touchback, be something that goes to the 35. So you got to think about it a little bit more. But I would just, having the process each and every week as you get into 17-plus weeks of the season, I think there's a bigger conversation then about the game day roster, being a little bit larger, having some more potential guys available, just because you don't want to have to resort to, hey, let's put it in play and let's also put a bunch of our starting defensive players on that coverage unit. Because if you lose them or you lose guys in that phase, the rosters are what they are and the rules are. But my point is, PA, I think there's going to be some larger conversations if we want to change that play and put the ball in play a little bit more, which it sounds like that paired with player health and safety was the nucleus of what was trying to get accomplished. I think we're going to have some other conversations.
Our talk back for the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, involves a new member of the Vikings who got here a little less than a week ago today, but the trade took place a week ago today. It's the new left tackle, Cam Robinson, and here it is.
Hey, Coach. Hey, PA. Hey, Nardo. Go Mankato. Game ball to Cam Robinson. What that meant to him, what that meant to you, and just overall what impact he's going to have on the rest of the season. Thanks, guys. Go Vikes.
Cam Robinson.
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, we weren't just going to make a move just to make a move.
Right.
There was a select group of potential players that you would even put into that category. And what I mean by that is I wanted to get a guy that was a left tackle, a guy that can, as he got comfortable in the system, we could, in many ways, maybe not all the time, but we could treat him in a way that we treated Christian Darrisaw, who I believe was playing as well as anybody in football, where I could really focus on other aspects of our protection. What kind of pressures are we going to get? Where do we want to make sure we can still account for that guy with the offensive line if he is coming, so that we can get Aaron Jones out and not force Aaron Jones to spend half his day having to block pressures from the second or third level. So Kwesi was able to accomplish that. And then the guy gets here. You see him in person. You see the size, the length, just the quiet calmness he had to come in and say, yeah, I can, all that is for me is what we called it, this or that. And pretty soon you got to pretty close to a full game plan. We held on some things just to limit, the stress on Cam, and we were still able to move the football all night, and we were just fine. But I thought he showed up, PA, play style-wise. I mean, it's great to have the size and length, but he was leaning on people in the run game. He was opening up some of those edges to the open side when we were getting some of those, mid-zones off with either Aaron or Cam there in the middle part of the football game. And then ultimately just the way he was able to protect that edge. And as the game went on, I started worrying about it less and less because I was watching a guy consistently do his job. I think he's still, even after starting 90-plus games, I think Cam still is a top half of this league tackle. And to acquire that the way we did, to really give up what I think will be, when it's all said and done, comp picks included, for potentially the work Cam puts in here. I think it's going to end up being one of the biggest moves that we've done here, considering it was such a moment where we needed to solidify that. What it did for the rest of the offensive line and what it will do moving forward, I think was huge. As we look ahead, I still want to highlight Brian O'Neill. I know I said it in my press conference yesterday, but I want to highlight the fact that I think he's playing some of the best football of his career. That's saying something because he's been so ultra consistent for such a long time for the Minnesota Vikings, but he is, and it's showing up in the run game, it's showing up in the pass phase, and knowing we're going to be able to have a guy like Cam on the other side is going to be huge for us moving forward, because I think we've got two real tackles that we can rely on, and that's saying that all-knowing Christian Darrisaw just got all fixed up yesterday, and he's doing great and will come back great in 2025. But what a move by Kwesi, and as the play caller and head coach, to know we got that big old sucker in our building ready to roll from day one like he was huge for me.
Well, and when I saw you 3.5 hours, 3:45 before the game Sunday, when we tape our pregame that airs 5 minutes before the kickoff.
I didn't know we were allowed to say that.
Well,
I
no.
thought that was...
Well, no, that's at home. On the road, no. When we say we're by the stanchion, or it sure is windy,
good.
or how about Gorilla
good.
Guy at this Raiders game yelling at you through the mask? Well, no, that's you know how the game works. But see, when I asked you that question about Cam,
Yep.
it's you just answered it. But I mean, I didn't, because I hadn't watched him play here, and I didn't want to disrespect anybody. And plus, we only have 3 to 5 minutes. But like the way I really wanted to put it was when I said, "Hey, is Cam the kind of guy you got to handcuff somebody to, or is he quite accomplished on his own?" What I was thinking, I may be wrong here, is like I'm trying to channel my inner Kevin O'Connell. I've waited this long for T.J. Hawkinson. The last thing I want to do is have to put somebody next to a left tackle. You know what I'm saying here?
Yep.
But I didn't want to disrespect anybody or jump down the road and get into your mind. But I understand that.
But I think you could probably even tell by not only the answer that I gave you, but the way in which I answered it. I had total peace going into that game with Cam. Because of my dialogue with him from the first moment he showed up to watching him practice on Thursday and Friday, and then just knowing that his mindset was one. He's played a lot of football in this league.
Yeah, I know. 94 starts, including playoffs.
Call it what you want to call it. I get to go play left tackle in the NFL this weekend and play against a team he knew well.
Yeah.
Play against a team he had played twice a year for a really long time.
And play for a good team with a good offense.
Exactly. So I was at peace with it, and what he went out and did.
Yeah.
I had no concerns that that's not exactly what he would go out and do, and that's why it all circles back to the quality of the move that it was, and to add a player like that was absolutely massive.
So like you get asked this a lot when players are playing their former team. Darnold, okay, seriously, the Darnold bit I felt played more than a lot of stuff I hear from the Niners last year because he's in all the right meetings.
Yeah.
Scout guy for the D. It was just kind of perfect. Well, like this is unique in that Cam was a Jaguar 7 days ago.
Yeah.
So from a coaching standpoint, with whatever he can share with you, if you even look for anything, like given it's so closely removed from playing the next opponent, like what do coaches do in situations like that?
Well, I think the big thing is he's got, a memory bank logged of just personally blocking, Josh Allen Hines and
Trayvon
Walker and kind of knowing their strong suits. They're both really good players. I think that's the strength of their defense. It clearly is those edge players, how impactful they are. So he can clearly bring some things. Maybe it's even just him and Brian exchanging notes on, hey, how do we want to set these guys? How do we want to take advantage of, some of the information that I know over a long period of time? It works both ways on that. I'm sure they're highly aware of some things that Cam's really good at, some things where maybe they want to try to take advantage of that, and that's where we've got to do a good job putting him in good situations, clearly.
Yep.
But then there's conversations to be had, with whether it's Flo, whether it's Marcus Dixon, whether it's Mike Pettin, that maybe go granular of players along that offensive line or part of their some of their strengths and weaknesses, or maybe it's big picture with Flo of things that have given them problems in the past, things that over his time there with that offensive group and that staff in place, things that they talked about were their issues that maybe even didn't show up on the tape.
Right.
I think all of it's real, especially when you're talking about a high IQ player like Cam. So we do those things every week, whether it's a practice squad player that have played with a team before, or it's Stephon Gilmore, me calling. I FaceTimed him last week on Red Zone night to show him some clips and ask him from the game from 2022, what were you guys trying to accomplish with this? 'Cause, how coverages and defense or how plays sometimes express themselves on the film, sometimes they look nothing like what the paper looked like.
Wow.
Just how games change, and the spacing isn't always the same. The matchups maybe where you thought guys would be don't always play out that way. So having that real-time intel from real smart football players, I've mentioned this before, but like Bobby McCain for me, every single week I'm asking him questions in real time. When he's on that scout team, seeing things at the safety position, how did that look to you? Did that look and feel the way that we're hoping it does to the defensive players we're going to play this week? And he's had unbelievable feedback that has had real-time influence on how we adjust or tweak a play and then run it. And it's the reason why it's successful.
Wow.
So if players are capable of doing those things, I believe in that. I don't know if it's my background of basically only doing those things the last 3 years of my career, but I think it's incredibly impactful when you have really smart players.
Well, see, what I love about that is like when I do interviews with other radio stations talking about you guys and games and stuff, I will say, hey, collaboration and or culture can be words that are trite in sports and or life. They're overused.
Yep.
But it's not here. And then I'll offer up some examples about, like what I thought of things at the end of 2021, and then you guys roll in. But the collaboration part, well, that's A+. Because, you're not going to be my way or the highway. You're going to include somebody else's thought, but that person has to be confident to tell you, not that I don't like it, but, hey, I see what you're seeing here, but let's consider A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Well, that's you would know, you won a Super Bowl. That's what the best of the best naturally and authentically do, right?
Yeah, and that's where you get to a place where, I try to pride myself on, if it takes every waking hour of a day, I want to try to limit any and all blind spots that I might have. And sometimes you get so caught up in the film, which is the most important thing. But when you have information at your disposal from smart football players, maybe coaches, whatever it is, you've got to take all that information into account, try to find ways to maximize the usage of it, and then highlight it. I can't tell you how many times I've told our team this year on a Monday, hey, give it up for Bobby McCain for that Wednesday adjustment to this thing.
That's sweet.
Otherwise, maybe it doesn't happen. because all truly you want to have in great cultures is everybody uses this term buy-in, but it's really not that. The way you get buy-in is by presenting opportunities for belonging. And when everybody feels like they're a part of it, I have an impact on what is happening not only Monday through Saturday, but on Sunday, whether I'm in a uniform or not. That's when you get this entire organization pulling the rope all at the same way, and that's where we can maximize what we are as an organization.
Last one on your offensive line, and I've turned this into Minnesota Moving Company fan line, but it's hide the women and children here because I'm going to attempt to formulate an offensive lineman-related opinion. Ed Ingram. He made his 40th start Sunday, and I thought, he really aided the running game late in the game, specifically on the Cam 13 and the Cam 12. So it's he started like I think 41 games now. Did you see it that way? His work in the running game, specifically late, was good.
Well, always, he's been from a play style standpoint. You start talking about putting it on tape of really coming off the rock, physicality. He's probably a guy that uncoils as good as anybody we have, PA, of really making a dent into fronts. I think him and B.O. have really played a lot of football side by side, so they know in those combinations, whether it is a zone combination, a gap combination, whether we're going vertical or we're going horizontal, whatever it is, those guys have a lot of time on task together. And I think he's also showing, at this time where, quite frankly, I've had a lot of conversation with him, knowing kind of the landscape of that offensive line room as we progress through the season. I wanted to see some growth in certain areas and his ability to help clean up some things in protection where maybe, he's doing his initial job, but then having great eyes and helping an inside move on BO, or maybe it's a line stunt where there's a wrapper coming from the other side, and he feels it and can shut that off and do it with play style, do it with physicality. He's putting people on the ground when he does it. I think have all been real positives. Now, ultimately, what we all want to see from Ed after 41 games, whatever it's been, is just consistency. The ability to do it snap in and snap out without any letdown is kind of the next step for him, and I think he's very much capable of doing it, and I continue to look forward to seeing it.
Harrison Smith, Harry had some sweet hits in the Colts win, specifically late. Did that lead you to giving him the game ball or a game ball?
Well, it was, we talked so much, about turnovers being a critical stat, and not even so much. We had some turnovers offensively that I think that game looks differently, specifically late, if we're able to sustain a little bit more offensively, get points out of our field goal opportunities. We know Will, potentially might have, had something to aggravate and kind of cause the quad an issue early in the game, and then might have affected the chance at those 6 points. But even that first red zone drive, if we finish that with a touchdown, defense goes out and plays the way they do, we end up getting the points coming out to start the second half. I think that game could have looked differently. But what I mean by turnovers is the Colts, when they didn't have a single turnover in the game since Shane had been the head coach, they were very, very successful as a football team.
Yeah,
I'm not talking
0 for 9 when they turn it right. Yeah,
I'm not talking wins or losses based upon the turnover battle. Just sheerly turning it over one time. And we were able to get that ball out, get the ball off of Jonathan Taylor, Byron Murphy with a huge undercut interception, big plays in the game nonetheless. But those, over the history of Shane being there during the short time he's been there, seem to have a real negative effect on their chances of winning football games. And then ultimately, getting some stops as well at some other point in times in the game, giving us a chance to put that 21 points on the board in the second half, I thought was critical. The Kevin
O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, for a few more minutes. He joins each and every Tuesday from the TCO radio studios. Jonathan Grenard, he 7 sacks, which leads the team, 48 pressures, which leads the NFL. He's just like with Van Ginkel and with Cashman. It's like I'm not watching the AFC that closely during seasons. I'm watching the NFC North. If you got an AFC team on the schedule, I get ready the best I had no idea Grenard impacted the run game the way he does. Like even some Taylor bend-back plays, looks like a nice big hole there, and he just gets a little bit of the calf to slow the whole thing. He's tenacious. He's had a fantastic season, hasn't he?
He really has, and it's all goes back to he was, the rest of the free agency plan from last year, whether you're talking as you look at all those pieces coming together of Van Ginkel, Cashman, bringing in Shaq Griffin, even a move like we made for Aaron Jones, getting the opportunity to bring him here. It all started with Jonathan Grenard.
Yeah.
It all started with knowing that we could solidify that primary 1A pass rushing position. And because sometimes in this league, that the next closest thing to quarterbacks and receivers and guys who take the ball over the goal line to score points on, name value and Pro Bowls and all those things.
Yeah.
The next closest thing to how the positions are tended to be looked at from an outside-in perspective is the pass rushing position, because you can see that. You can feel
contracts.
that when TJ Watt or Bosa change a game at the end of the game and get the ball off the quarterback on a strip sack, and that game, they're closers, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan Grenard, when you studied him in Houston, he showed up from the first snap of games. Play style, he was electric coming off the ball with that first step. He was going forward a lot. He was willing many times to set a great edge in the run game, chase it down like you're talking about on the backside. And it's just the effort. And then he's a physically gifted athlete where he's explosive. He's got an unbelievable repertoire of moves. And then he's really coming into his own. Kwesi always talks about pass rushers taking time, because you really have to learn your fastball. You got to learn your off-speed pitches and how you're going to use them based upon the tackle, how he's setting you, how he's playing you in a game. I think Jonathan Grenard has taken the next step, which is saying something, because he had a really, really good year last year in Houston. But how he's fit into Brian Flores' defense, how he works on all downs for us. The hardest part is just making sure he doesn't play 1,000 snaps a week just because you want him out there every single snap. But it was good to see Dallas Turner show up and really impact the game, and Van Ginkel was always was his normal self impacting the game.
I have a Jefferson question that I have to get in. So just a couple of seconds on this. Any shot Cashy in that troubled toe make it back this week?
I think so. He's going to be every single week. We've got to see what he can handle from a workload throughout the week. And even if it's limited work, and then we can get him a little bit more towards the end of the week, we'll just see. It's those things are so tricky, as you know. And you really don't want to set him back when we're looking at kind of things for the long haul here. Now, we'll see how his workload can look this week. I know he was close to maybe giving it a go for a practice Thursday and then into Friday, but we decided to hold back last week, and it's a true day-to-day, week-to-week thing right now. But he is a huge part of our defense getting him back.
Last one. Justin just loves throwing passes. Do you love calling those plays, or are you nervous when a non-quarterback is throwing the ball, even though you've repped it 100 times during the week?
I do not get nervous one bit when it's going to be Justin. We've done some other things with potentially some other guys throwing the ball. We've had some things up that we haven't called that I think there'll be a proper time and place for.
They all think they can throw.
But everybody does until that moment where the play gets called and they're going to have that football in their hands.
Yeah.
And I always tell those guys, everybody wants that smoke until they actually get it. And but Justin, I mean, you look back on it, he's always had the ability to make a good decision if maybe the look's not there, or we get fooled and didn't can out of a play to change it, based upon we didn't get the look we wanted. We've had that happen.
He pulled one back this year,
which was an example of that, where it was not exactly the look that we wanted on the play.
Wow.
We end up running the play anyway, and he still gets a positive outcome out of the play, moving it forward. Doesn't put it at risk, doesn't make a bad decision with it. But there's something to be said on that particular play. His ability to catch the ball, and then when Justin Jefferson catches the ball and goes forward like he simulated he was doing, the reaction of that entire defense. I thought there was still a little meat on that bone to get even more than we did on the play. So maybe we'll have to come back to that at some point. But it's been a big play for us. We've had some success. Dalvin Cook early on in 22. Got called back for a penalty last year against the Niners.
A little success. The Niners stole one of your non-quarterback pass plays, ran it in the Super Bowl for a touchdown.
That's right.
I'd say it's a little success.
That's right, man.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, PA.